So the law is an extremely complex topic, especially in the US, but also probably in every other country as well. So we're going to use AI to help us understand the law better. We're going to copy and paste some US code into ChatGPT, and we're going to ask it, like, what does this mean? Explain it to me like I'm 5. So I'm just in here in the US code, and I've got some section of the code. I just tried to find something really boring. This is the section on Social Security, and I'm going to ask the chat to describe to me what some of this means. So you might be studying this, you might really want to know something in there, but what we're going to do is, oh my gosh, it's so much text. Jeez. So I'm going to take this section that references a ton of other sections that just no one could possibly understand what on earth this means unless you looked up like 19 different things. I'm going to feed it into the chat. We're going to see if it can tell me what this means. I'm going to say, tell me what this piece of US code means. Like I'm a middle schooler. All right, let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so it came back with a pretty simple explanation of what this piece of code means. So I'm going to go find something else. I'm going to look at some different piece of code that may be something like criminal and just see if it comes up with something interesting here. So I found this section on voting rights and just got that code pasted in here with the prompt about, can you describe for me how this piece of US code protects voting rights in the US? So I just copied and pasted that in there, and we'll see what it says. So we're getting an answer, and so we get the basic explanation that this is mostly about discrimination, and let's see, where the code prohibits intimidation, threats, etc. The Attorney General can take legal action to prevent that. I'm going to ask it just broadly, like, what else can you tell me about this statute? I'm also going to ask it, is this something that protects voting rights within states? Because I know that's been a big question of, like, how does the federal code actually relate to states? And, as far as I can tell, if there's a federal code and, a federal law, an actual law at that level, that's, within the U.S., that's pretty sturdy, right? That usually means that, hey, regardless of what the states are doing, the states can't do less than this in almost all regards. So this says specifically that the statute does protect voting rights, ensures that all citizens are qualified to vote, even if you can't pass a literacy test. That's not, because that used to be a discriminatory tactic. Let's see. Yep, there's no voter eligibility in any state that could possibly be applied by right or denying the right to vote due to errors or omissions on voting-related documents unless the errors are material. I wonder what material means. So I'm going to actually ask you, what does material mean in terms of errors? Actually, just curious how that word is applied. And I think if I was in 8th grade, I'm not really going to know what material means. So, this is like a learning mechanism for me to actually understand the law at a more like granular level. So let's see. Okay, gotcha. So material means like, hey, there's an error, but it's not a big error. So like somebody kind of miswrote their address or something like that. It seems like there's a little bit of kind of like relevancy inside of the law with that word that says like, okay, well, if this is relevant to the particular situation, then, an error could only be used to deny your vote if it was important enough, and it was like, this doesn't make any sense, this is a major error. So we got some more dry text on campaign finance, and we're going to take that and throw it in the chat and see what it'll tell us about campaign finance law. And I'm going to ask it to explain this code to me like I'm 6, so I'm actually going to take campaign finance law and then try to see if the chat will distill it down to something that would make sense to somebody who is 6. And I have kids, so I am interested to see, and I had siblings growing up, so it would be interesting to see. And I was once a 6-year-old, to clarify that. So let's see. The U.S. code is about how political committees, should be organized and run. Any money, personal funds of the individual. I don't know. This is getting a little bit more complex. Maybe they thought I said 6th grade, but it's still cool that it's distilling it down, right? And it's condensing it. So I'm gonna ask it. Oh no, I shouldn't do that. I said, can you explain it to me at a kindergarten level? Let's see. I'm interested to see how that works out. Okay, so these are some big words, but they did have. I think that some kid would say, "What's a public office?" Just say. Let's say, please make it simpler. And I'm iteratively giving the chat feedback, and then it's going to refine what it gives me based off of that. So all of this interaction is kind of strung together, and it kind of spits out the same thing. So I don't know if we could really take US code and distill it down to a kindergarten level. But with that being said, this is very easy to understand. So like something like this: these committees must tell the government about the money they get and spend. The government uses this information to make sure that committees are following the rules. So like money and following the rules, those are pretty, I think, easy concepts for kids even at that age, right? So this is actually a little bit better. So it's really cool. We went from, in this case, this big block of code right here on federal campaign finance, and we distilled it down to some explanation worthy of elementary school kids. So I just think this technology has some really interesting implications for education that are worth checking out if you are a teacher. But anyhow, if you've hung out with me in the video to this point, I appreciate you watching. And if it was helpful, smash that like button and drop a comment below with any cool use cases that you have yourself put in place for that. And have a good one.